Greetings, greetings, everyone. I'd like to say peace, love, light, and honor to you all. May all be well with you all. May all be well with your loved ones and everything that you are striving to be and working hard to accomplish. May the Most High guide and protect all whom are righteous. uh, Forgive me if I stutter through this stream. I'll try to maintain it. It's a lot that's going on. Um, Health wise. With that being said, let's get into uh, Rico Law, Constitution, and fundamental freedoms and rights. Let's start off with the fellow that they call Charleston White, or uh, that's probably his real name. Um, I'm going to be honest. I, for one, do not have a problem with what he's doing. Honestly, I really don't. Beyond all the acting and the gimmicks, if one listens to a lot of the things that he's saying when he gets to the point, forget the showboating and sometimes a little weird, goofy stuff. When he gets to the point of what he is saying, it strikes home. Freedom of speech, freedom overall, has the greatest amount of responsibilities. And a lot of people don't understand that. It goes over their head. That very same freedom of speech is what is being also used on our younger generation people right now today as a weapon. Because this generation and parts of the previous generation, and what people have to understand, every 10 years there's a new generation coming into this world. Every 10 years. And so far, every 10 years, the thought process and way of thinking have become more and more degenerate. The actions, more degenerate. The overall behavior and attitude, very vile and disgusting. And none more publicized than people of our youth communities. So even though we have fundamental rights and freedom, we don't have the privilege to go out there and spew any and anything, any and everything in particular manners that we damn well know are highly influential on the babies that are coming up. When you're going out there and you're making music about how you killed this person and how you killed that person, and you're promoting scamming and you're promoting how to steal from this person, and you're promoting promiscuous um, actions, desires, and you only know that These music aren't being pushed to the older generation people because they already, if they're not programmed already, you can't program them because older people are set in their ways for the most part. For the most part, not saying all, but the younger generation are the most influential. And in psyops warfare, I want you to understand, in psyops warfare and psychological warfare, you need to gain access to the minds of the younger folks because they are the next generation. You need to change their way of thinking. You need to break them out of traditional values. This thing, one big setup. You know, they say you have the right to privacy. Well, there's no more right to privacy. Even when you're out there on the public roads, everyone has a phone camera now. There's a camera everywhere you are. There's a street camera. New York has their cameras running 24 hours a day now, 7 days a week, nonstop. You have no right to privacy when you're out there in the public. When you come home, you have no right to privacy neither, because that ring camera that you have in front of your house, that doorbell camera, whether it be Ring or whatever company, all goes back to the federal government, which is on a server from a company that is probably owned, or that server is probably created by China. So whatever you're saying when you're sitting on your porch, you're in your car, in your driveway, all of that is being recorded. And the least little thing you say, whether it be 50 years ago, 60 years ago, if they have it on recording and you commit some form of act today, or you became an influence on someone that committed some form of violent or criminal act today, they're going to go back and pull up that recording of you 60 years ago saying some stuff when you was a teenager, some dumb shit. Not that you're the same person now that you were then, and they're going to use that against you. This is Rico. This is a double-edged sword here. If people don't understand what RICO is, it was a law that was created for Al Capone. Not only Al Capone and the mob, it was created to also keep the policy officers that you now mispronounce as police officers in check. RICO was like the second fist of the Constitution, or your Bill of Rights, the amendments. This is RICO. So as much as your words or these rappers' words are getting them convicted or getting them locked up on RICO charges, gang units running down in houses and neighborhoods now. I for one don't have too much of a problem with what's going on, because the music today has become a great influence on the violence that has been building up within our communities, especially going back into the Caribbean communities. The Caribbean communities, their violence leave from the Caribbean and come into the States, and leave from the States and go over into Europe. This is how hard they go at it. So if your father had an issue with a man in Jamaica, and that man, boom, killed your dad, that man is still gunning for you, the son, the daughter, the mother. If you run away and you come to the States, and that man, family, or people see you here in the States, they're coming after you. If you have family in the UK and that man has family in the UK, the violence spills over also in the UK. Do you understand? And a lot of this is perpetuated and promoted within the music of the culture. A few years ago, when I had the big channel, I used to say freedom has responsibilities and accountability. Watch the words that you use when you're out there, because you're influencing younger generation, younger minds. Entertainers are some of the most sought at and looked up to people in this world. Your children see these folks, oh, I want to be like them. And they're singing about one thing on TV, rapping about one thing on TV, acting about one thing on TV. And in a lot of their real lives, they're not living what they're portraying. But they're not putting it to your children that this is just all acting in the public. They're portraying it as if this is all real. You understand? When we live in a society where we glorified the gangbangers and the drug dealers, they made a whole Blue Magic movie off of Frank Lucas, and they still finding bodies in walls in New Jersey right now, left from his generation and Bumpy Johnson generation, in walls of houses and buildings. And they turned that man into a celebrity. Free Ray Ricky Ross, the Philly gangster, turned him into a celebrity. 50 Cent took on the original 50 Cent name, which was a gangster, and glorified that name, turned that name into a celebrity name. Understand? Jeezy came out with the snowman thing and turned it into a brand. And folks went ahead and glorified that. You glorify everything that is negative, a negative impression onto you. And what that does, it devalues not only yourself, but your communities. Period. So what I see Charleston White doing and exposing a lot of these artists, he's teaching you two things. The internet, these cameras, is always watching you. If you type in a Twitter message today and delete it tomorrow, it's still there because it's forever in their database. Same thing goes for Instagram. Facebook changed their name to Meta because it's metadata. Metadata can be bought by anyone or any company from Facebook, which gives it to a third party company, and then that third party company sells it, which is why Facebook will say, oh, we didn't sell the information. They are. They're just going through a third party company to do so. So when you're wondering why now some of these bloggers have particular information on you that you've never told anyone, that's because the bloggers are buying the metadata, your metadata. So they have your social, they have all that type of stuff. Whatever you put in an inbox message, the freakiest message you ever inbox someone over Facebook or whatever social media platform, they have it. And if they have it, the government has it. You understand? I see YouTube glorifying the gun culture within also our community. I didn't subscribe to any of these gun channels, and when I scroll through my timeline, I'm seeing Black Rambo and all these different type of Negroes. Boom, 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 have the biggest guns in the world. Mind you, for years they taught the world that folks in our community are gangbangers, gangsters. All we do is walk and shoot up each other. Chicago was always on the news. St. Louis is always on the news. And here you are, you have these guys here glorifying gun culture on the mainstream within our communities. You're being set up for a big fall. Not telling you not to have your means of self-protection and preservation of life. Not telling you that. But there's no need to air it all over the airwaves in this era that we are in in the depths of the psychological psyops warfare that we are in and that is being waged on our communities. It's not cool. Definitely is not. When you see T.I. go out there and tell his son that the Waffle House employees are beneath him because of where his pockets are and their pockets are, but it's their Waffle House money that bought his albums to make him at the level of where he's at now today so that his spoiled ass brat of a son could go out there and cause all this mischievous trouble. Calmed his ass down real quick though when Charleston got in his ass. Same thing with Boosie's son. With Boosie's son. You understand? These are the knuckleheads that your children are looking up to or being influenced by. So don't get a fool when you see they're using Rico to take down Young Thug and all these other rappers. Your little son and daughter that probably wrote, "Oh, I hate little Timmy or Billy or Naquan so and so" on their Facebook post, going at it back and forth with another teenager or another preteen. And then, God forbid, something ends up happening to that person. Your child had nothing to do with it, but they go pull up your child's post. All that is Rico. All that is Rico. Now you see Boosie and T.I. trying to keep their sons now in check. You see, Rico is coming to the Caribbean. Follow the steps of what the Jamaica Corporation is doing and their crown appointed governor general and crown appointed prime minister or president of the corporation, president and vice president. Governor general is the president, vice president is the prime minister. The CEO is King Charles of the Jamaica Corporation. Has nothing to do with the land or the people. Now, if you pay attention to what they're doing or what they have been doing, when they first implemented this no cursing thing on the entertainment stage at these concerts being kept by members of the Jamaica Corporation, because most of these concerts are kept by politicians or former police officers or police officers who are slash promoters. And if it's not being kept by them, they're extorting the folks who are keeping these things. That also has another reason to why Vibes Cartel is still locked up. But anyway, they put a no cursing clause, and if you curse, you get locked up, you go to jail. The University of the West Indies is said to have allegedly have programs where they teach telemarketing and teach you that if you have an accent, how to disguise your accent and cover it up. And it is these very same students, allegedly, that attended the University of the West Indies, that got these jobs as telemarketers, that learned how to access people's information and collect people information. Who more the ones that started off the major scamming going on through the Western Union and other money sending and collecting agencies and social medias. And when they become telemarketers or they work in particular branches of the government, they have access to your records, your phone number, your information. Even if you're in the States, they have access to what you have. Do you understand? So they were taught this, allegedly, from one of the top colleges in the world. These skills. And then it trickled down within the communities and now became a thing out of hand, where the average child, man, woman in the community is learning this because they learned it from them. Then your musicians picked it up because they got in on it, and then they start singing about it, rapping about it, putting it out there in the public, encouraging others to do it, which now comes now to where now they're shutting it down, saying you can't sing this type of song, that type of song. No song with no chopper chopper this, no songs about scamming, no songs about this, no song. Now they dictate to you what kind of songs you can and cannot sing. Peep the setup. They set you guys up so lovely. And they use musicians who are part of their fraternal order, their fraternal and their sorority communities. Because don't get this twisted. You on the outside don't understand what's going on the inside with these people. And a lot of these musicians were hitters, killers for these people. And what they've done is stifle your economy in the States, stifle your economy in the Caribbean, shut down your factories, your areas that used to have particular amount of jobs, or they created a big commotion and caused riots in your communities to burn down your communities, which will take 10, 20, 50 years, it's 60, almost 60 years later, and from the riots of Jersey and parts of Philadelphia, you still see the remnants of these burned down buildings that hasn't even been touched to be fixed up yet. Walking through particular neighborhoods, and all you see is junkies and crackheads that came in from those neighborhoods, and those jobs were gone. So now, when these odds are stacked against you, a younger person that doesn't have the patience, they're going to look to robbing, stealing, killing, scamming. They're going to look to the celebrities who are pushing this message towards them. They're going to look to the Rick Rosses and the Young Thugs and them that's talking about putting mollies and drugs and female drinks. These are the people they're going to look to because they see the nice, shiny, dangling chain, and these guys always got wads of cash and all this type of stuff. So they're going to say, well, I want that. I'm tired of living in this community. I'm tired of suffering. But most of these celebrities have not taught them how to invest in themselves and their communities, how to go into real estate, how to go into the financial market of things. They're only thinking, give me a ball or give me a mic. Give me a ball or give me a mic. I watched Lil Durk take $1 million back to Old Block. For what? Why didn't you use that $1 million and build a store to hire folks that work then, folks from Old Block to have a job? Watch him brag about a little baby was giving him another million to put on top of it. For what? You're going to give the money in these young folks' hands for them to go do what? Buy chains and jewelry and guns. When that money is done, they're going to go right back to robbing and killing. Hence, they're knocking Ricos on your asses because a lot of the young folks nowadays are dumb. They tell all their business on camera, just like most of these rappers go in front of Vlad TV, tell all their business and then want to say Vlad is the police. Nigga, you snitched on yourself. What are you talking about? And then when they're trying to think that they're trying to be discreet or incognito by saying, I'm just going to say a little bit, but I ain't going to say a little goes a long way, motherfucker. It goes a long way. You understand? Folks, pay attention to the setup. Now, constitutionally, what's being done in Jamaica is a major violation of one's fundamental rights. Constitutionally, I'm going to be fair now. Even though I'm not 100% against a lot of the crackdown that is going on, I'm still for freedom. Even in the Jamaica's very own constitution, the Jamaica Corporation Constitution, What they're doing is unlawful. They cannot do that. Can't arrest you. They cannot fine you. None of these things. But we have a generation of people that would rather go in the streets and shoot and kill their neighbors, rob their neighbors, fight with their family, destroy those that look like them, rather than go at the legal system through the courts, at their government, which is corrupt. They won't do that. They'll tell you what can we do is nothing we could do. And they won't fight. And this is now when freedom is being taken away slowly but surely through your inability to act. So, long story short, do not disagree with what Charleston White is doing. And part of me don't really disagree with the crackdown on what's going on in music overall. But I am also still for freedom. And there's responsibilities when it comes to freedom. You have the free will, the free right to go out and do whatever it is you want to do, but not at the cost of harming me. You see how that works? If you choose to use your freedom to come and try to attack me, because I have the freedom to do so, but then there's consequences after that. There's death penalty for you, there's prison for you, there's retaliation from someone else, a family member or so, that will definitely come up on you. And then that breeds more violence for generations. This is why you have sometimes generational blood feuds. A lot of these artists know what they're doing out there in these songs is not right. I would understand it if you're saying this is what I had to do to survive and I had to go on and do so on and so. But at the same time, you're letting them know you letting the younger generation know you don't go this route. This route is not for you. But they're not doing that. They're not doing that. The Sauce Walkers or Sauce Flock or whatever his name is, and the Young Thugs in them, or degenerates. The Takashi 6 9s in them, degenerates. Promoting the lean and the scissor and all that culture, which also came from, what was that? Was it 3 6 Mafias also? Sipping on some scissor. Remember that? Which now comes into this generation of lean and all sorts of stuff. Then they rewarded you. Oh, we're going to decriminalize marijuana. They decriminalized that because this majority of their children is on that shit now. Well, it's not shit, but it's on it. So if they got to lock you up, they got to lock them up too. Had nothing to do with you. Watch what you say and what you're doing out there. There's consequences to everything that we do. That's all I'm going to say. This is, they're not playing with y'all. Playtime been over. The younger generation is just not educated enough or self-aware enough to see that. But there are these artists, these rappers, they know and they are self-aware enough. And when you hear some of them talk, how they talk in their songs, and then you see them sit in front of someone and do an interview, they are very articulate and very intellectual in how they speak. And then it makes you wonder, well, who's that person that's talking all that ignorant trash in these songs? Hmm? So they're selling this false image to your sons and daughters. Parents, you're not off the hook. You're not off the hook neither. because some of y'all grew up in jacked up households and y'all brought over that personality onto your household and pushing that onto your children. Some of y'all more than have the capability to direct what your child is looking at before they reach a particular age to instill some form of values into them. And some of y'all don't do that. If you grew up in a house where your parents was crackheads, don't that should have taught you don't become a crackhead if you have children. Don't let your child grow up how you grew up. You grew up in a house where you were neglected or abused, and some of y'all turn around and start doing the same thing to your children. Then your children will look to an outside source of means to look up to, which is going to be these degenerate musicians, actors, athletes. At some point, we all have to admit that the responsibility of how our communities or the world is lies on each and every single one of our shoulders. It does. So, what are, are we going to do about it? We've made other cultures billionaires, men from other cultures billionaires, trillionaires. They've built generational wealth for the next 500 years off of our backs, our communities. They locked you up for years for selling or having weed on you, and then opened up tons of dispensaries in your communities and saying we decriminalized it, still making money off of you, and you didn't wake up and say, "Nah, I'm not supporting Habib's dispensary. I'm not supporting uh um Adam's dispensary." Now y'all flock to them shits. And what has Habib put back into your community? What has Adam put back into your community? What have you put back into your community? And then next thing you know, you're the one turning around complaining how these foreigners and these people are coming here and they're treating you and they're doing this and da, 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 da. But you're the one fattening their pockets to be able to bring more of their people here to do so. To do so. You've put in everybody's community except for your own. Every time you go to the Staples Center, every time you go to Madison Square Garden, every time you go to the Barclays Center, spend money on those game tickets. That money goes into that billionaire's pocket. That billionaire then put it into where that billionaire comes from. He don't put it into where you're from. He don't do that. That money's going overseas. Overseas. Akon came, made millions of dollars off of y'all. And he did the right thing. He went back home, started building for his homeland, his countrymen and women, teamed up in projects to bring forth light, clean water, and these things. What have you done? What have we done? What have I done? We're all in this. We're all in this. Just saying, I see people talking about Ti and them talk about cancel Charleston White. I'm just catching up on these stuff. So if I'm a little late, forgive me. I have a lot going on. A, a lot. So yeah, be mindful, people. Be mindful. Now, another thing with this Rico, like I said, Rico go both ways. When a policy officer identifies you as something that you are not, we're not crayons, we ain't black. That is a RICO violation. That is also called paper genocide. This is why it is important that folks start identifying as their tribal identity, nationality. Must research who your peoples are. And I'm not talking about doing that false DNA test that's going to talk about, oh, you have ties to Kenya, Nigeria, and so on and so. You must do the paper trail of your genealogy. Your ancestors left letters. Your ancestors left birth certificates. Understand what it means when you see Negro colored on a birth certificate, what that meant back then, really meant, and why they were putting Negro and colored on birth certificates. What were they calling you before that? And a lot of you guys are going to uncover that they were calling you Indians, copper colored people of the Americas, Aborigine, Aboriginal Americans. That goes for those in the Caribbean as well, because the Caribbean is and always have been a part of the Americas. There's no separation. Never was. This is why in the Caribbean they don't put ethnicity on birth certificates or any form of ID cards. And now they're trying to trick you for you to go pick, right? After they miseducated you for all these years. We are Arawaks or Lucayan or Locono, Kalinagos. We ain't black, nor are we Afro Caribbean or Afro Puerto Rican or Afro Mexican or Afro or Afro Jamaican or black or descendant of African. We are not those things. Nor are you African American. Nor are you black. You are not those things. Those are corporate titles to lock you in jurisdiction of the corporation, which then will lock you underneath all this RICO law also as well, that was created by the corporation. Understand? Well, with that, I say peace, love, light, and honors to you all.